If you're waking up in the mornings and you're feeling groggy, you're low energy, you've got that foggy brain, you need to try Heights Vitals. In Vitals, you get 20 science-backed minerals, vitamins, and nutrients in just 2 tiny capsules. No faff, no mixing powders, no having to research every single, vitamin that you're supposed to be taking. These guys have covered it all for you. Obviously, as a lot of you know, I've been on a health kick lately. Yeah, I posted a little transformation picture on Twitter. Enjoy it. How much have I lost? It's not important, is it? 70 pounds. Like to say you do that. Sorry, I'm a bit competitive sometimes. And in doing my health kick, I really wanted to make sure that I get more energy, better focus, better sleep. And I have to say, Heights help with all of those things. And I know getting into supplements, it can be a little bit like everyone's selling a different supplement. But what I love about these is they're an all-in-one and it just removes all of the confusion. And they actually work. And that's not just my experience. I've talked to loads of people who've tried them before. Everyone says they're good. And the science proves it. So if you want to start feeling better in your everyday life, and let's be real, who doesn't? Give this a try, right? And what's really good about it is there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So there's literally no excuse. And when you use my code in the description below, you'll get 20% off. The code is TrueGeordie20. That's all block capitals, all one word, TrueGeordie20. So go and give your brain and body what it's been missing and click the link in the description below. Now, the Beckhams, they're almost like royalty in the UK, right? They've been on our screens for 30 years now, almost. And they've always put themselves across as the perfect family. But that perfect image we have of them has been smashed to bits by their firstborn son, Brooklyn, who's come out swinging in an insane Instagram post accusing them of all sorts. And not only that, he said, I don't even want to reconcile with you lot. Now, here is Brooklyn as a kid with his dad, David, and this is the first time I remember seeing him in the media. I was a kid back then myself, and I remember the whole thing of, why did they call him Brooklyn? Because his parents had sex in Brooklyn. That's the level of detail we knew about this kid's life from a very early age. We knew where his parents fucked to conceive him. So I think it is fair, before we judge him, to say that the spotlight has been on him from a very young age, which is not normal. And this is a picture of him recently with his wife, Nicola Peltz, a billionaire's daughter. I mean, he's done all right in life to be born to those parents and then marry her. Fair fucks to him. Could have been a lot harder. Fucking hell. And look, there's been rumors of this family separation for a long time because people were noticing, like, why isn't Brooklyn in the family photos that they're always posting or, at these events? Where is he? And it seems like he's just come out and said, look, I can't take this shit anymore. And if you're not familiar with the Beckham brand and the whole story of it, I mean, I am. I watched David Beckham's career from the get-go. I remember his first ever goal like it was yesterday. I was talking to the other kids on the playground about it because he scored from the halfway line, which never happens. Back in those days, it wasn't about getting clicks. It was about selling newspapers. And when David and Victoria got together, they did that as well as anybody in the world, maybe other than Princess Diana. They were massive from the get-go. And that wasn't an accident. They had a very good strategy for manipulating the press, getting the attention, and generating money out of it. And I do think that Victoria was a big part in that. David was the star, but initially, she was the brains. And like I said earlier, when the kids came along, they were then thrusted into the spotlight too. It wasn't like they protected them and hid them away. It was very much, we've gone from the perfect couple to the perfect family with perfect, beautiful kids, and everything's just fucking perfect. And aside from a little affair that David had when he was in Spain, it has been 3 decades of perfection. And Brooklyn Beckham here, in about 6 Instagram stories, has taken a wrecking ball into that 3 decades of perfection. And as you can imagine, this has pissed a lot of people off because these people are loved. We grew up with the Beckhams. Not just that, David Beckham has played for very beloved football clubs and their fans are die-hard supporters of his. And the way a lot of people say this right now, before I even get to the stories, is this is a spoiled little rich kid who's tarnishing the reputation of the father and the mother who gave him the life he has. A life we would all want to have. We'd all want that money. So you should just shut the fuck up and be grateful for it. We all get abused by our parents. We don't get the money. At least you got money. And I hear that, right? But what if he's telling the truth? There's this whole thing online right now about how it's becoming more and more common for kids in the modern era to disown their parents because they're not going to take their shit anymore. And in many cases, it's the parents' fault. It's the parents' responsibility to maintain a good relationship with their kid. That's not uncommon nowadays. So I just think before we dive into this, keep an open mind. Yes, he might be a spoiled brat, but he might actually have a point here. And just going back in time a little bit, the first sort of rumblings we heard of this shit was when Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz were getting married, and there was this whole thing of her choosing a wedding dress not made by Victoria Beckham. Apparently that upset Victoria, and there was this whole thing, and the cracks were beginning to show then. Apparently this magazine cover of Nicola Peltz really pissed off Victoria Beckham, because the title of it is The New Mrs. Beckham. And obviously, like, that's Victoria's thing. Not only are you taking my firstborn son, but you're also taking my identity there. And that may have caused some jealousy. Then there was a rift between the brothers. Apparently, Brooklyn and Romeo got with a girl who apparently Brooklyn had been with before. Awkward. Brooklyn apparently expressed concerns over her intentions with Romeo. Maybe are you just with him for the money? I don't know. But there was a falling out between the brothers as well. And actually, the rumor is that Victoria set Romeo up with this chick. Fuck me, that would be even more mental. And there was a lot of rumors about the wedding, and Brooklyn has cleared this up, right? He said what happened at the wedding, but there was rumors that Victoria upset the bride at the wedding. He later got his old tattoo covered up, which read Mama's Boy, dedicated to his mother. He got that covered up, which you've got to think, like, you don't get a Mama's Boy tattoo unless you absolutely love your mum. Like, something must have gone on to make him do that. And it all sort of culminated with Brooklyn saying, look, I'm done. Just talk to me through lawyers. I don't want to talk to you lot anymore, before he posted these Instagram stories. So it's time for the tea. Enjoy it. So Brooklyn said, I've been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak out for myself and tell the truth about some of the lies that have been printed. And if you're wondering what those lies might have been, Brooklyn Beckham was called a hostage by a family friend, which is what they say when a family member talks to the press, and said that he will be dying inside and is being controlled. Another one here, Brooklyn Beckham branded a hostage by his family who fear he's Nicola's puppet. Now remember, this is the Beckhams. They've been manipulating the press for 30 years. David Beckham literally left Manchester United in his prime because Alex Ferguson had enough of the media circus in the way that this guy manipulates the press. They're experts in this. So he is directly referring to articles like that which make him out to be a puppet on a string, a hostage by his wife who doesn't have his own mind. And you've got to think, right? It's the Beckham brand, isn't it? People are going to wonder, where the fuck's your firstborn son? If he's not there, it's easier to blame her, isn't it? The new woman, and go, she's held him hostage, rather than admitting maybe yous haven't been the best parents you could have been. And I'm not saying that is the case, but if you're going to the media and telling stories about your new daughter-in-law like that, even if you have fallen out, it's a low move, isn't it? And look, sometimes people do take people away from their family and manipulate them and turn them against their family. Sometimes that does happen. But if you're the ones going to the press and telling stories about them, it's just not a good look, no matter how you spin it. I don't want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life. For my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family. The performative social media posts, family events, and inauthentic relationships have been a fixture of the life I was born into. Recently, I've seen with my own eyes the lengths they'll go to place countless lies in the media, mostly at the expense of innocent people, to preserve their own facade. But I believe the truth always comes out. Fuck me. That is powerful. That is really fucking powerful. He's saying this is bullshit. This whole family's bullshit. Yeah, we propose for pictures together and we pretend like we're the perfect family. It's all a load of shite. They're literally lying about my wife to justify the fact that I won't talk to them, making her the bad guy so that they don't have to take any responsibility. That's what he's saying here. Now, I've pulled up an interview that they did 7 months ago, and they kind of talk about why they love each other, and I just thought we'd give it a watch to see if there's anything we could take from it to see where this control comes from.
He is very honest. He always has my back. He's my best friend. He has the best heart. So always has really pure, good intentions. You guys all tearing up back there.
Yours is, you smell good. Your smile makes me very happy.
I thought that's
You're funny, very funny actually, and you're very hardworking.
Oh, I love you.
Very passionate about what you do, and I like that.
So that gives you a little idea of the dynamic. I know it's 60 seconds. What can you take from that? But I watched the video and I thought that they were quite boring, but quite ordinary people. They didn't come across like there was a major power dynamic between them where one person was more powerful than the other. And even the things she complimented him on, saying he was very honest, very good-hearted person, best of intentions. If that is true, and you're doing a tell-all on your own parents, well, then that's out of character, isn't it? And I'm only going off her word. She could be bullshitting, but maybe this has taken a lot for him to come out with. Maybe. She called him honest as well. Like, if he's under her spell and under her control, how honest can he be? It didn't come across that way. My parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationship since before my wedding, and it hasn't stopped. My mum cancelled making Nicola's dress in the 11th hour, despite how excited she was to wear her design, forcing her urgently to find a new dress. Now, they did a big thing in Vogue about their wedding where people sell their story and all that shit, and there was no mention of this in the Vogue story. It was like they were always going to wear a different dress in there. So people are pointing at that going, ha! Liar. And look, maybe he is lying. But also, maybe they didn't want to mention that in the cover story because it would have thrown his mother under the bus and they don't want that drama. So they just pretended like it never happened, which is very possible considering people only do this magazine shit for PR. So I would take this Vogue stuff with a pinch of salt. But if it is true and the mother did cancel the wedding dress at the last second, that would have really fucked her daughter-in-law's whole world up. Because you already know women are crazy about this wedding dress. This is the main thing about the day. And having a wedding dress made up, it's a fucking ball ache, and they want it to be just perfect. So to have any last minute issues would have been a nightmare if that is true. Which does beg the question, why would Victoria agree to do it in the first place and then cancel later? Did something happen, or is Victoria just a fucking bitch? We don't know, but one thing we do know is it gets worse from here. Weeks before our big day, my parents repeatedly pressured and attempted to bribe me into signing away the rights to my name, which had affected me, my wife, and our future children. They were adamant on me signing before my wedding date because the terms of the deal would be initiated, and they have never treated me the same since. Now let me unpack this for you, because the Beckham surname, it's not just a normal surname for this kid. It's always referred to as Brand Beckham for a reason, because it isn't just a surname, it's a brand, and it's owned by companies owned by David and Victoria. This covers things like clothing lines, endorsements, media deals, perfumes. I mean, it's a money-making name, and it's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And signing the rights away is a legal agreement, like a trademark agreement or a licensing contract, where Brooklyn would have transferred the rights to his name to his parents so that if he wanted to use that name to make money out of it, he couldn't do that without their approval legally, meaning they wanted complete control over his ability to make money off of that name. And some people might say, look, they made that name famous. They're within their rights to do that. And it's like, yeah, but he's not an employee. He is your child. You gave him that name. Why wouldn't you want him to, do as much as he could with it and make as much money as he could out of it? Why do you want to own his name? And obviously this just comes down to control. He wouldn't have the freedom to do what he wanted, and they would be able to tell him, look, you can't do that, you can't do that. We legally own it. And they were trying to give him a fuck ton of money by the sounds of it to enforce this. And him saying they've never treated me the same since I didn't agree to that. It's clearly it was like our way or the highway, which is ironically very like Harry, the royal family. It was the same thing that he went through. Behave like how we want you to behave, or you're not in the family anymore. And this power play for me, it's so detailed, so weird and unusual. I don't think he's lying. There's just no fucking way this is a lie. They're very litigious people. They'd sue him if this was a lie. And I wouldn't be surprised if everything he's posted has been ran through lawyers, by the way. Like, given the fact that his wife is a billionaire's daughter, he wouldn't have just posted this out without thinking about this. So I bet most of this has been fact-checked. I get there's a lot of Beckham fans out there. This is fucking weird. And this isn't cool. You brought him into the world. You called him Brooklyn Beckham. You can't then just take that back. And again, if they did do this, even his own kids wouldn't then just be able to go out into the world, use their last name and build a brand. They couldn't do it. They'd literally be indebted to their grandparents and have to ask them permission. That's the level of control this would have given them. And interestingly, he actually hyphenated his name to Peltz Beckham when he got married. So he actually changed his name anyway. And I wouldn't be surprised if that played a part in his decision to do that. Now he goes into what happened at the wedding, and apparently he was called evil by his mother because him and his wife had their grandmothers at the table with them, at the wedding table, because they both didn't have their husbands with them, which I think is quite nice and thoughtful. And apparently it wasn't like he singled out like one parent are more important than the other. Like both sets of parents were equal distance from them, still very close to them. So it wasn't like there was a reason for anyone to kick off. But Victoria was still pissed about it. And look, sometimes weddings, they're very hard for people to prepare for, but they're particularly hard when one person feels like I should be able to say what goes here. And the more you listen to him, the more it sounds like Victoria is just used to being the queen bee of the family and telling everyone what goes and how it should go. And I just don't think you should make your kid feel evil because he had his nan sitting on a table with him. I think that's quite nice. The night before our wedding, members of my family told me Nicola was not blood and not family. The night before the wedding. The whole point of a wedding is joining family. Everyone's, you know, in a good mood and it's a lovely occasion. And like, even if you don't rate the person that someone's marrying, you don't say that. You just say nice things and pretend like he's already going to marry her. What are you going to do? Talk him out of it at the last minute? No. Just pretend like it's fucking great. And I think that shows the lack of respect that he has given within the Beckham family. And maybe that's one of the reasons why he snapped. And he does say here, since that moment, I started standing up for myself and my family. I've received endless attacks from my parents, both privately and publicly, that were sent to the press on their orders. Even brothers were sent to attack me in social media before they ultimately blocked me out of nowhere last summer. Interesting that they blocked him, because there was rumors that he blocked them. And you've got to think, if he's telling the truth about this controlling behavior from his parents, which is extreme by anyone's fucking estimation, he's got to marry a billionaire's daughter. He doesn't need their money anymore, right? You can't control him in the way your brothers need your money. So they might have been told, fucking block him, and that was it. Or they might have done it off their own back. Who knows? My mum had... Sorry, I've got to start that again. My mum hijacked my first wedding dance with my wife. It's just getting really crazy now, isn't it? I mean, what? We'd planned for weeks in advance to dance to a romantic love song in front of our 500 wedding guests, so there'll be witnesses to this, remember. Mark Anthony, whoever that is, called me to the stage where the schedule was planned to be a romantic dance with my wife, but instead, my mum was waiting to dance with me instead. She danced very inappropriately in front of everyone. Oh, no. Oh, you know what that means, don't you? Inappropriate. Did she slut drop? It was up there. It was in that region. I've never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my entire life. Oh no, son. This is bad, isn't it? This is really bad. And again, people are showing pictures of the Vogue magazine and being like, well, it wasn't in Vogue. Well, yeah, it wouldn't be, would it? The Beckham family have sign-off to this shit. They invited Vogue. Do you not think they had sign-off? There was 500 people there who seen this. It must have happened for him to say this out loud. What's interesting is there was a leak from the wedding back in 2022 when the wedding happened that corroborates the story completely. Apparently, there was a song sang for Victoria Beckham in Brooklyn, which set Nicola off, got her upset. She literally ran out the room crying, which this sounds mental. And when the mom and son dance ended, Brooklyn then ran outside to go and get her, and they didn't come back until the after party. It is mental that this was leaked at the time, and it does add some weight to what he's saying. People are now posting things like this saying, when Victoria danced with Brooklyn at the wedding. I mean, yeah, it sounds like that. And apparently this was the dress she wore, which is another thing, is like, if she's dancing all like her arms all around him and like, and she's wearing the thinnest, like, fucking hell, you can see every single thing, you know, through that. It's just weird, isn't it? On your son's wedding day, being the first dance, like, everyone knows that the first dance is the wife and husband. You've got the videographer, the photographer, they're all there waiting for this special moment, the memory you're about to make together as you have your first dance as husband and wife. And she's like, clear the way, bitch. I'm coming through. There's only one Mrs. Beckham in this place. I wonder if she broke out the old Spice Girls dance moves. I can see it now. Yeah, just like this. Giving it a bit of that. Bit of the old posh Spice moves. You enjoying that, son? He would have been dying inside. Absolutely dying. And look, as weird and funny as this is one of the most crazy power plays imaginable in this scenario. Like, what she's saying to this girl is, you may be marrying him, but he still belongs to me. He's my son. I'm still the main thing here. I'm having the first dance, not you. On her wedding day. It's fucking crazy. This has got to be true. I'm sorry. I know we don't want it to be true. And like, everyone wants to think the Beckhams are nice people. There's no fucking way this is a lie. 500 people were there, man. They'd fucking sue him if he was lying about this. His mother's getting memed all over fucking Twitter right now. And the more I think about it, you think to yourself, like, this was Victoria Beckham's first child wedding, right? She's never done this before. She's never had to let go. And that's what it is for a mum. And it could be fucking hard for them. There's some women out there, we all know them. They're like, no, woman is good enough for my son. They exist, very much so. And you look in at Brooklyn Beckham, he's the one who looks most like his father. It's the firstborn. He's her pride and joy. And I think mentally, she is having a breakdown in this place right now. She's probably drunk because it's a wedding, and she's just behaving like a fucking lunatic. For him to say, the most humiliating moment of my life was caused by you, mother, and it was at my wedding. It was supposed to be the best moment of my life, and you fucking ruined it. We can't just sweep that under the rug and say, oh, well, he's just a spoiled little rich kid. What's he complaining for? It's fucking terrible behavior from his mother. And I think given the fact she took the first dance away from the bride that day, it just screams jealousy. What else could it be? It makes no sense. Everyone knows the first dance goes to the bride and groom. My wife has been consistently disrespected by my family no matter how hard we've tried to come together as one. My mum has repeatedly invited women from my past into our lives in ways that clearly intended to make us both uncomfortable. This might have something to do with the brother's girlfriend being a woman from Brooklyn's past, and maybe the mother connected them for that reason. And it just smacks of a lack of respect, that, doesn't it? And it's interesting that Victoria acts like this, like no regard for anyone else's feelings here. It's your son. You should have respect for him. And I know you created him and you gave him the brand Beckham name, so maybe you don't respect him because you're like, I literally made you in every way. But Victoria Beckham was also made. Yeah, you had a few hits with the Spice Girls back in the day. Guess what? They dropped off a cliff very quickly. You weren't a superstar. The only thing that kept Victoria Beckham relevant was David Beckham. Ironically, Beckham was the name given to Brooklyn from birth. Beckham wasn't even Victoria's name to begin with. In fact, we didn't even know Victoria Beckham's first name when she became famous. We didn't even know that until she got married to David Beckham. No one even knew she was called Victoria. It was just posh. That's all we knew her as. So for her to disrespect her son in the way she is, it's ironic because if it wasn't for meeting David Beckham, you'd be performing sad little reunion shows to a handful of people right now. And that's the fucking truth about her. She's a nobody without David Beckham, and that is obvious. And she's done really well to land David Beckham. Like, if we're being honest, no disrespect, I'm not saying she's an ugly woman, but let's be real here. David Beckham, one of the most desired men in the world for women. Victoria Beckham, psst, no one gives a shit. That's the truth. And I'm not even being nasty. She's not an ugly woman. I'm just saying the facts. So I don't know where this massive ego comes from, because you're not even... Your son isn't dining out on his talent. Neither are you. You're no better than him. Ironically. And at least he's got his dad's looks. He then says that him and his wife travelled to London to be there for his dad's birthday, but that they were rejected by him. He refused all of our attempts unless it was at his big birthday party with 100 guests and cameras at every corner. When he finally agreed to see me, it was under the condition that Nicola wasn't invited. It was a slap in the face. And look, I am open to the possibility that Nicola has done something to piss these people off. Maybe she's opened her mouth and said too much at some point or another. But again, rejecting your son is weird behavior, man. Even if he has pissed you off, he's your son. My family values public promotion and endorsements above all else. Brand Beckham comes first. Family love is decided by how much you post on social media or how quickly you drop everything to show up and pose for a family photo op, even if it's at the expense of our professional obligations. That's damning. He's just basically saying this family is bullshit. We don't fucking love each other. It's all a fucking show and it's a load of shit. If you're not helping Brand Beckham and protecting their image by pretending to be this big happy family and showing up all the time, they're not interested. What are you doing for us? And that's where the courting of fame has always been at the heart of, especially Victoria Beckham. Everything they want to do, image, brand, fame. And ultimately, I understand why people would want to get rich, but this sort of craving for fame, it's about wanting to feel better than everybody else. And I think if you're like that, then there's something wrong with you. And if your own son comes out and says, this family ain't about love, that's probably something really wrong in that family. Because I think that's one of the worst things a kid can say about his parents. You aren't about love. You're all about yourselves and your image. That is a serious fucking thing to say. Everyone might want to protect Brand Beckham and you've grown up loving them. Kids don't just come out with that for no reason. And I know they've given him plenty money, but I've met people who were children of millionaire parents, and I'm talking extremely wealthy, and I've talked to them about, you know, what is it like? And one of them actually confided in me one day, just randomly, and spoke about being controlled by the money and you know, you have to live your life like this, you have to do that, you have to do that, or I'll not give you any money. And it was used to control him for his whole fucking life until one day this lad just went, fuck this, I'm not doing it anymore. And the resentment for his dad, the anger, because he wasn't just loved for who he was, and he tried to, because you've controlled your own life for so long and money has helped you do that, you get into a habit of doing it and then you do it to your own kids. And he was like, he hated his dad for it. And it was fucking sad to see. And this does happen. And I tell you what, talking to that lad who'd been raised with all that money, that conversation I had, I wouldn't have swapped my upbringing where I was loved so much growing up for what he had with the money. No fucking way. And while his parents are saying, oh, she's holding him hostage, she's brainwashed him and all of that sort of stuff, that's possible. Yeah, it is. Do you know what else is possible? And I've seen this before. I've seen people who have been raised in dysfunctional families who haven't been loved and haven't been treated properly. They meet someone in their 20s and the light bulb happens and they go, oh, this is love. And it's an eye-opener. And they start looking at their parents with maturity and age and that love experience that they are now having through a different lens. And they start seeing their parents for who they really are. And that love that they're receiving from that partner gives them the strength to voice opinions and do things that they didn't have before because they were being suppressed. They weren't being loved. They didn't have the strength to speak up for themselves. Now he's got that bond of marriage and obviously a billionaire fucking father-in-law, which does help. Maybe now he's saying things that he could never have said before, but that are true. Because I've seen this in everyday life. And yes, sometimes women will turn a man against his parent. I get it. It can work both ways. But I've seen this quite a lot. The narrative that my wife controls me is completely backwards. I have been controlled by my parents for most of my life. I grew up with overwhelming anxiety. For the first time in my life since stepping away from my family, that anxiety has disappeared. Whew. If you imagine being raised with a mother like Victoria Beckham, who her god is media attention, it's public perception, that's all she cares about. And it's what she's built her entire life around. She will have been on at him from an early age about how he thinks, how he looks, his behavior, how he dresses, everything about how this is going to be seen by the media. Because remember, she didn't protect them from the public eye, she thrust them into the public eye from day one. There is no way he could have just been free to develop as a normal person and be a normal lad and be his own person. She would have been on at him. She did the same with David Beckham. He went from being quite a normal dressed guy to a fashionista, fucking, everything he wore was well thought out. This is who she is. And that must have made for a very fucking weird upbringing to get that from a very early age and worry about what everyone thinks all the time. No wonder you had anxiety. As much as the upbringing and the money and the cars and everything he had would have been great, that wouldn't have been easy. And the fact that he said, I left that situation with the parents and now my anxiety is gone. This is exactly what I've heard people say about when they've been in relationships with parents who didn't treat them well and they removed themselves from the situation. I've heard the exact same things. And the fact that he's gone into such detail about parents who are clearly so protective of their brand, so litigious, and they would just sue him if he got a word wrong. A lot of this is true. That's obvious to me. He might also be an arsehole and all of that. And yeah, they might have their own version of events. I'm sure they do. But a lot of what he's saying is clearly true in my opinion. And I think what it's giving is that the Beckhams prioritize themselves and their brand over everything. And nothing shows that more than asking your own child to sign the right of the last name away that you gave him at birth. That shows you're a brand. You're not a family. And ironically, that's what they've always been called. They've never been called the Beckham family. They've always been called Brand Beckham because that's what comes first. And he's called them out for it. And I seen this meme from their documentary. Someone's written this up. I didn't hijack Brooklyn's first dance. Be honest. I am being honest. Were you on the dance floor with him for the first song? Yes, but thank you. It's fucking weird. And ironically, if you look through that statement, he does mention his mum specifically, but doesn't really throw his dad under the bus quite as much. Yes, he says he refused to see me. Maybe his dad is the one who can eventually mend this and build a bridge, but this kid seems pretty fucking upset and I don't think he's wanting to talk to them for a long time. That said, it is a shame and I hope that they do manage to fix this because family is important and I've had fucking arguments with my dad and it's fucking tough in the moment. You don't want to sit there for the rest of your life and not have that relationship. But it's going to take an apology, isn't it? And that's what the issue is when you've built a brand, we see people in the public eye, they never apologize. No one ever wants to admit they're wrong. That's what something like this is going to take. So can they swallow their pride if they have done wrong by him and there isn't a whole different side of the version of events and apologize to him? We'll see. Let me know what you thought of this in the comments below. I've got no doubt there's people severely disagreeing with me on this, and that's fair enough. Maybe I've read this wrong and I have only got one version of events, and often there is a whole nother side of the story. So we'll see. Let us know what you think. Hit the like button, subscribe to the True Geordie YouTube channel. I'll see you on the next one.